UConn Nation, and welcome into a new UConn men's basketball season. I'm Avery Becker.
And I'm Julia Sasso.
And you are watching the new UConn men's breakdown show, Run It Back, and today we're going to be talking about preseason predictions. Let's get into it.
Utter domination for 2 years.
This season, the team will see 5 new additions to their roster, including 2 transfer students, Terrace Reed Jr. and Aiden Mahaney, as well as 3 freshmen, Ahmad Noel, Leah McNeely, and Isaiah Abraham.
Now, I would just like to start off by saying that Dan Hurley is a coaching genius. I would like to point out that basically the 5 players that Julia mentioned that he brought in are basically carbon copies of different players he's had on his past 2 national championship rosters. And we've seen this as a consistent thing. Like, to replace Joey Calcaterra, he brought in Cam Spencer, who's a guard. And this year, for that transfer guard that he needed to bring in, he brought in Aiden Mahaney, who's a junior from St. Mary's. He's a lot like Cam Spencer. He spaces out the court really well for his teammates, and he's also a really good 3-point shooter. So he'll be able to fill that space in for Cam Spencer. And also, we need someone to fill the space of Donovan Clingan, our 7'2" big man. Although we will not have a player this year that's above 7 feet, we do have Terrace Reed Jr., who will be a junior this year and is listed as playing center. He'll be a really good backup for Samson Johnson, and maybe even Yusuf Sangare. I know the 2 of them, Terrace Reed Jr. and Yusuf Sangare, will definitely be fighting for that backup spot for Samson Johnson, but he's got really good height to him. He'll be really good around the backboard, especially with getting those rebounds and those shot blocks. So I think he's going to be a really good addition to the roster. Moving on to the freshman, Ahmad Noel. I think he's going to be a lot like Hassan Diarra. He's a little bit short, but that's okay. But he's going to be that 10th man. I know we talked about that a lot last year for Hassan Diarra. He got the 10th man award. He's going to be that 10th man, being that really behind-the-scenes player that I think the team needs to help aid Jalen Stewart, if you will. And moving on to Isaiah Abraham, he is just like Tristan Newton. He's really good at getting those shots and creating those plays for his teammates, and I think by the time he becomes an upperclassman for the Huskies, he's going to be a really good leader. And then moving on to Leah McNeely, I would like to point out that he is exactly a carbon copy of Alex Caravan. He will be playing forward this year, and I'm sure he will be playing backup for Caravan this year. He's really good at getting those 3-point shots, like I said, just like Aiden Mahaney. He's really good, up and down the court, especially on the backcourt too. He's just a really good player, and I think that we're going to have a really good roster this year, and I think this year, just as any year, is just as good of a year to get a 3-peat. Let's move on to our overall season predictions. We're going to start with Julia. What is your season prediction coming into the preseason?
So, Avery, I'm going to come up with a kind of wild prediction here. Okay. I'm going to say they're going to have an undefeated season.
Wow.
Or
okay.
at least an undefeated regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we talked about earlier, Dan Hurley has an incredible coaching ability. And the basic components of this team have essentially not changed from last year. Every player has another that they sort of match. And given the incredible performance they put up last year, I expect them to only build on that and to come off strong off the gate and deliver a successful undefeated season.
I think that's a really awesome take. I know I said it earlier that this is the year that they could pull off the 3-peat out of any year that I've seen from UConn men's basketball. And moving on to my overall season prediction, which kind of like yours, people may consider a hot take, but I think Alex Caravan is going to have a stellar year, maybe even National Player of the Year, if you will. I don't know. I'm just going to put that out there. But I think there was a reason that he came back after enrolling in the draft. It's because he has unfinished business here at UConn. And it is his senior season, and I know Connecticut Insider, one of the news publications, just put out an article with him saying that he feels like he hasn't seen enough personal credit for himself. And I agree. Give credit where credit is due. He is an incredible player, and not only is he an incredible player, he's an incredible student too off the court. And I just think that he deserves the credit that he is getting because he is such a good player. I just think that he needs a little bit more confidence in himself, a little bit more confidence in his play. But he's a really good 3-point shooter. He's one of the leaders on this team, along with Hassan Diarra. They're the 2 guys that are basically leading this team, and I think those are the 2 best guys that could lead this team to a 3-peat, as I've said many times before. I just think that this is his year. It's his senior year, his last year here at UConn, and why not do it? Why not three-peat? Why not be National Player of the Year? I know these are really big, hot takes. We'll probably come back and touch on them at the end of the year once the season is over. But for now, I'm Avery Becker.
I'm Julia Sasso.
And this has been Run It Back.